Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we are discussing Canada's worst censorship bylaw. Osgood Hall Law Student Manit Ramchandani has been going through hundreds of bylaws to find some of the worst examples. And Manit, what stands out to me is how what you and Josh were talking about in the last segment is how there's a lot of similarity between municipalities that have these restrictive speech laws. And it feels to me almost like these cities are learning from one another and copying each other's worst ideas. Do you get that impression as well?
Yeah, sometimes. Cities don't necessarily have the resources to develop and learn about new laws. So they'll go and look at other cities, what's working, what's not, and pull it there. There's not really anyone kind of saying, no, let's not do this or any concerns. These are municipal cities, right? Sometimes less than 50,000 people. There's no charter lawyer watching. Um, a lot of these people that are writing the rules are the same ones who don't want to be criticized. They're trying to make their lives easier. It's really just a lack of local media as well. If we're not watching, then they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's a really important point that there is an absence of local media in a lot of communities. And those are the people who watch and report and make people aware of the things that are happening at their local council. Because many of us with busy lives, we're not aware of the things that are happening in our own cities. That the people that we elect to govern our communities are doing these kinds of things to muzzle speech, including speech that's critical of them. Now, Josh, is there a prospect to challenge some of these bylaws? Look, I know we at the CCF have already been involved in cases challenging censorship at the local level. Do you think we're going to find something in this report that we're putting together worthy of bringing a charter challenge?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all. I think there's so many that are ripe for challenge. One that we haven't talked about yet, but that I think is really ripe for challenge because it's an obvious, content-based restriction is these bylaws called graphic image bylaws. And what they do is they single out one particular type of speech, and that's the speech of anti-abortion protesters, where they'll show fetuses, human fetuses, and that offends a lot of people. A lot of people really don't like to see that.
I have to say, I don't
But
like seeing those images either.
yeah, that's a common reaction. But at the same time, this is political speech. These people are entitled to show those images, and they shouldn't have that singled out, right? So, a few cities have these in Alberta and also in Ontario, and that type of bylaw seems to be spreading where they're saying you can't show this particular type of speech anywhere in the city. And another one that I think is ripe for challenges are bubble zones, and we're challenging one of those already in Calgary. We might talk about that a bit later, but here in Ontario, in a town called Vaughan, they've put in place a bubble zone where the idea is that you're creating a little bubble around every church, every mosque, every community center, childcare center, school, hospital, and it says you can't protest within 100 meters of those places if the city decides that your protest is somehow a nuisance. And those are places that people should be able to protest. Nobody should be going outside a church or a mosque and intimidating people or blocking people, but they should be able to go and protest something going on inside if they don't like that. That's freedom of expression, and
Including
that's
the
protected.
members of that particular faith who might disagree with the viewpoint of an invited speaker at their own institution, to their own congregation. They should have a right to express their disapproval of an invited speaker by protesting them. And I think people forget that. While I lament these awful scenes that we see of protests in front of synagogues, I think that protecting the right to freedom of expression is so foundational, because you need to think about how this could be weaponized to silence really legitimate dissent within faith communities. And uh, I share your concern, Josh. That's one of the reasons we brought the lawsuit against the city of Calgary that happened just was heard just earlier in February, challenging their incredibly expansive bubble zone, preventing speech near libraries and recreation centers. That bylaw captures all kinds of different speech that I think many people would find unobjectionable. Um, Speech that is actually has real social value, and it also would capture all kinds of people who might not even be aware that they're being captured by this bylaw. So it's really important to challenge these laws when we find them. We got to go to break now, but we'll be right back.